he could look at that and he knew where he was going. That's what we want you to prepare, and we want to help you put together when you speak. You want to have a reference point. When you come up, you can see where you're going next. You'll be able to take your time, pace yourself, and speak coherently on whatever topic you're going to be given. Will it mean you'll come to the podium and you won't be nervous? No. Will it mean you'll come to the podium and you won't make any mistakes? No. Does it mean you'll come to the podium and can stand up there and have no thoughts of running to your seat? No. But you will have everything you need to deliver a clear, coherent presentation and share some information with your instructors and your classmates. So as I said, you have more demands in your classes, and you don't have the luxury that I have to be able to implement all of these. But look over these and look at the ones that you think that you could easily work into what you have to do. And I found that all of our classes are little communities, and as the students gain more insight into each other and they're more familiar with their classmates, then they don't dread coming to the podium as much. The more they learn about their classmates and their background, and they say, well, you know, I'm not too different from her, and he's not too different from me. And so they don't feel that they're speaking before strangers. And then they approach coming to the podium with some confidence, and they're able to give a good speech. So any one of these that you feel would work well with you, use it and change them up in any form that will work with your particular situation, because what we're working for is helping the students gain some confidence and feeling that I'm not going to die when I come to the podium, because many of them feel that way. In speech classes for this semester, we're wrapping up the first speech of the semester, and I have some students who are among the missing. They just haven't shown up for class, and I know why. Because it's their turn to give a speech, and they're just not ready to make that. They're not ready to come to the podium. Not that they don't have all the tools, they just feel they're going to come up to the podium and they're just going to die. And I'm emailing them and calling them and telling them to come to class, come speak and see you won't die. Talk to your classmates. We haven't lost anybody this semester. And we don't plan to start with you. Questions, comments from any of you? Would you all like to give a fortune cookie speech?
Does anybody want to give it a shot?
See, this is how the students react to me. Same reaction.
Sure, why not?
All right, go for it. Open it up.
I hope they need it already.
Yeah. Come up, tell us your name, and read us your fortune.
Read you my fortune, all right. My name's David Prather, and if I can read this, I'd be all right. You're interested in public service and would make an outstanding statesman. Well, I guess that kind of fits the shoe. I'm a teacher. Have been for about 13 years. I'm a public servant working for my students. I got to reach out, and I got to take care, and I got to let them know they're going to be all right. They're going to make it. All they got to do is believe in their own abilities. If you believe, you will succeed. The biggest problem you have with my students, because I teach math, I can't do no math. Mr. Prather, I can't do no math. I've been bad at math all my life. I can understand. You believe you're bad, you will be bad. Think about it. If you went out and did something and told yourself before you did it, I don't think I'm going to be able to do this. I'm going to fail the test. You went down to the driver's license place to get your test, you probably run grandma over on the way in, and you wouldn't get your license. So you got to believe in yourself. And you gotta be that kind of person and know that you can be successful. And as a teacher, that's my job. My job is to get you to believe, to change your attitude toward what I teach so that you will be successful. Because we're all successful in life. And I've got to convince you that. And it says I'd be an outstanding statesman. Guess what? I got to sell it. I've also got to be an outstanding salesperson because I got to get them to believe. I know they can do it, but I've got to convince them that they can do it. And you can do it. Might be tough, might be hard, but you can do it. I know, from experience. Thank you. But you know, the funny part about that was when I was getting my master's, and we have this one class, we had to read these articles, and the teachers now, this was a whole classroom full of teachers. They had to get up in front of all these other teachers, and they'd get up there, E. I was like, what are you afraid of? I said, you're a teacher, right? Yeah. Do you do that in front of your kids? Oh no, those are my children. I can tell them anything. They'll believe me. Well, why do you do that in front of all these people? Oh, those are my peers. I'm scared. Why? Just pretend like that's your students out there. Do it. You find out it's a whole lot simpler.
Good point. Good point. Do you have anything else you want to share?
Adding on to what he said, studies in communication have shown positive imaging. It's thoughts are things. As people think, so they become. And just like those students say, I can't do no math, I can't get up there and speak. And they've done studies with athletes. They took a group of athletes and they had them practice free throws. And then they took another group and had them to visualize making those free throws. And then they got both groups together and had them shoot. And those who visualized did as well as those who actually got up there and practiced. So it's in the mind. And if we can get them to think in their minds, to believe that they can do math, do biology, do chemistry, get up and give a speech. But then they'll have to take the further step to put into practice and to make it happen. And we can also provide for you sample speeches to show your students the good, the bad, and the not so good and bad, so they have something to compare it to. And these are speeches that you can show in class, and links that you could also put on Moodle so they can watch at their leisure. And again, anything that we could do to help you in this effort, we are here for you.
Thank you, Michael, for sharing. And I'll let you pass the baton, pass the torch on to Professor King.
I'll let you continue.
Oh my. Let's see if we can get it out of the way. Maybe I won't think about it so much. You got it.
And as I mentioned, Professor Barbara Penn is a speech communications professor at Wingate University. She's also a dear friend of mine as well. We go back. She was my advisor as a student when I was there. So I'm going to let her share her expertise with you and continue on with oral communication.
Some great things really can come out of speech class, right? So I'm looking at Jerry Seinfeld because he's, the man for research. I know that there have been a lot of studies done about what scares you. They've interviewed person after person, and what we identify as what scares us is public speaking. In fact, more people identify public speaking as what they're afraid of than identify death as what they are afraid of. And Seinfeld goes on to say that, so what that means is if you're at a funeral, you're better off in the casket than giving the eulogy. So I'm hoping that we won't really stick with that idea. So my idea today is to give you some tools that hopefully you can work on your QEP requirements without taking a lot of your own class time. In fact, maybe it'll even help you with some class time. So if you will think about, first thing out of the gate, assign some speeches. And I love what Michael says. No grade, a little grade. I learned the phrase from Michael and Althea, low stakes. Okay? I like to talk to my students about, I just want you to get up here and get your sea legs. And just feel how it feels to be in front of the crowd, to see how it is when all 20 or 30 or 40, always an even number we hope, right? Eyes are upon you, and just get the feel of being there. What can you do? Well, you can do your lab reports. Maybe that will save you some time. Maybe not a lab report. Maybe have each one teach when you explain a process, and then have somebody in the class stand up and tell their peer or tell someone else. Let them share some of the concepts, either with the peer or with the class. Maybe they can do some impromptu speeches. Let them pull a topic out of a hat. Some of the concepts, this is their review session. They pull a concept out and they talk about it. Okay? I brought with me, my kids played with Connects when they were little. And they remind me of what I've seen your folks maybe play with, the models for molecules and such. So I'm going to pass these out in a minute. You have 2 bags, one inside of the other. And hopefully they have identical sets of pieces in them. What I'm going to ask you to do is divide into pairs, and one person build a figure with all of their pieces, but the other person doesn't look. Okay? So after you've built your figure, your job will be to turn to your partner and verbally describe with precision what you have done, and see if the other person can recreate your figure. Does that make sense to you? Okay? So let's pass those out, and we'll see how you do. There's for this pair, and you can decide who creates. Oh, we have an even number. Yay. Okay. Okay. Pardon? Okay. Okay. So I think Michael can come help you. Do you want to just take a few minutes with this?
Yeah.
Sir?
Are we supposed to try to explain how to do it without the person seeing?
Correct. One of you build it,
Yeah, but
while the other one keeps their back turned.
when they explain it, and we're trying to recreate it, we can't see.
Correct. Correct. We'll just see how close you can get. If we had partitions, it would be beautiful. But do you have this much fun with your molecule sets?
It makes more sense to me.
Right. I think a few years ago we would have used Tinker Toys. You know.
That's right.
Watch the TED Talk, I think, like when you get to summarization for those, right? Like,
Mm.
what we do that, you'll let me know when you want me to play the TED Talk, okay?
Actually, that's what I had planned on doing next, but we can do it in any order. This is fine. This is beautiful. In fact, I'll glance at that. Yeah. Are you about ready to start? You don't have to use all the pieces. It can be a surprise. Okay? Why don't you take just a minute or two and talk to your partner and see if you can talk them through creating your figure. Don't let them see it.
Okay, I've got that part.
Take the green connector. And take the two long green pieces. And put the two. All right. In the green piece. You're going to make a 90-degree angle with those two long green pieces and the little green connector.
You've used one of your 2 minutes.
And they'll clip in the sides, not in the circles. Put the connector on this table flat. Take this stick out. All right, now stick one piece in one of the two ends, either the left side or the right side, doesn't matter. Just snap it into place. If you take it, drop it, go in, stick it left. There you go. All right.
You got about 10 seconds,
Okay,
right?
and then from that down 2 degrees, to your 90-degree mark. So you're going to go around to the left.
Okay.
Get another connector and drop it in the connector.
All right, take just a few minutes. I really didn't expect anyone to finish with it, but can you tell me what you think the purpose might be? Right, communicate clearly. And I think particularly in your field, talking about precision and defining terms. This was the most beautiful thing I've ever seen here. Put this at a 90-degree angle. And Michael went, I'm in theater, 90 degrees. You know, I was like, okay, you know. It was precious. So I think that your students won't feel threatened by this activity, but if you debrief them on why this is really important, that perhaps they can get the message. And I say if you don't have Connects at home or Tinker Toys, don't tell Althea, but go ahead, use what you have on hand. And in your packet, you each should have a sheet of paper that's got some very bizarre geometric forms. And if you don't want to work on the three-dimensional level, then have them work with this and just cut these apart and give one to each team and say, one of you look at it, the other one draw it based on the verbal explanation. So that's some low-stakes ways that you can get folks involved. The next thing that I wanted to mention to you is create a rubric for your students. They so appreciate it, I think especially in these days when they have come in through high school and been taught to perform to the test. When you say, this is how the evaluation will look, and they have something to shoot for, it may not even occur to them that eye contact or rate or volume or pitch or any of that is important. So there are some rubrics in your packet, and my suggestion is start with those and make them your own. Modify them in whatever way is necessary. Another thing I would suggest to you is encourage the students to keep those rubrics, because they will use it this semester, next semester, maybe in a completely unrelated class. Out of the blue, someone says you have to make an oral presentation, and they'll have some of that stuff that they can hang on to. After rubrics, and these certainly are in no order, but get the students invested in this. There are a couple of ways to do that. Ask them, when do you think you might ever use this? And they'll tell you everything from a job interview to science fair, teaching, a lab, a conference, a workshop, and let them work through that, and like all other things, see the value in it. Okay, so that takes a few minutes of your class time, I know, but hopefully it pays off. I ask that you encourage your students to know that nervousness is normal, and we don't really have to talk about getting rid of nervousness, but accepting it. One of the things that you can do is talk to students and say, ask them, do any of you think you might be nervous giving a presentation about this procedure? Why, yes, I will be. And they'll be surprised to see they're not the only one. Almost without fail, all of the students raise their hand. And then you can take it a step further and say, well, what are some manifestations of that nervousness? How does that play out? Well, I get tongue-tied. My mouth gets dry. My hands get shaky. I forget what I was going to say. And you'll watch their pupils dilate and say, you too? So I encourage you to spend just a couple of minutes, invest that time, and let them work through how it's going to be. Now, my favorite is share a video, because it doesn't take any of your class time. I think you can put it on Moodle. I always send mine via email. Okay? I want to share this one with you. This is a TED Talk.
I'm sweaty, heart racing, stomach in knots. You can't cry for help. Not only is your throat too tight to breathe, but it is so embarrassing. No, you aren't being stalked by a monster. You're speaking in public. A fate some deem worse than death. See, when you're dead, you feel nothing. At a podium, you feel stage fright. But at some point, we all have to communicate in front of people, so you have to try and overcome it. To start, understand what stage fright is. Humans, social animals that we are wired to worry about reputation. Public speaking can threaten it. Before a speech, you fret. What if people think I'm awful, that I'm an idiot? That fear of being seen as an awful idiot is a threat reaction from a primitive part of your brain that's very hard to control. It's the fight or flight response. The stuff that the study of breaking out. Charles Darwin tested fight or flight at the London Zoo's snake exhibit. He wrote in his diary, "My will and reason were powerless against the imagination of a danger which had never been experienced." He concluded that his response was an